Hi, I'm Mary Kurek, and I am a member of the congregation at St. Francis by the Sea in Salter Path, North Carolina. And a lot of us in the congregation have been talking about how we can engage more of you who are looking at the services that you see every Sunday from St. Francis. And with the concern that maybe we wanted to keep you connected and maybe get you to know us a little bit better. And we thought maybe the best way to do that was to introduce ourselves to you, and maybe one by one, maybe not everybody, but enough people so that you can see what's drawing people to St. Francis and know that you're among them from far away. Even if you've never stepped in the door the first time, you now have become a part of our community, our family. And so this interview that we're doing right now, or this conversation that we're having, is with Craig Everett, who is our music director over at St. Francis. So welcome, Craig. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to talk with him just a few minutes to get to know him, so that he's a face you see every Sunday now if you're watching the services. And what you probably didn't know, he's like the production manager of that whole thing, which I found out this past week. But there's more to Craig's story than that, and so we wanted to share a little bit so that you get to know these faces that you're seeing every week, and maybe some of the other congregation members that are coming. So Craig, what drew you to this area in terms of, maybe this is not home for you originally.
Right. Well, I have grown up in eastern North Carolina, and I'm from Martin County, a little community called Everett. It's in between Williamston and Robertsonville, Highway 64. And so from there, after I graduated high school, I went to, at that time it was called Atlantic Christian College. It's Barton College now.
Yes.
I wasn't a music major to begin with, but I changed my major because I missed music, and I was actually a church organist beginning when I was 14 years old at First Baptist Church. I remember my mom taking me up and dropping me off at church on Saturdays, and I would just spend the day there practicing and learning the trade, and so that's something that I did all the way through college, and I continued to play for worship services. I grew up Baptist and predominantly have served in Baptist churches. And so I began teaching school in Farmville, North Carolina, in Pitt County, and I was involved with the music ministry there at First Baptist. I was the organist and eventually became the choir director. And then I had a chance to move to Morehead City to work with the West Carteret Band, and at that time, it was a much larger program. It was a 12-month employment, and so I wanted to move to a place where I could accomplish my career goals. And so during that time, I was the band director there for almost 20 years, and during that time, I had always had a church stop, but my band job at West Carteret was so demanding, and we were traveling every weekend, and I didn't realize when I moved here that we were literally on the end of the earth, so we would have to travel 3 hours to even get to a starting point. And so we were coming in after band competitions on Sunday, early Sunday mornings around 3 a.m., and I just couldn't hold down a church job. So I went for about 15 years where I did not really serve the Lord in a working capacity. Now I be active at First Baptist Church in Morehead City, and did the choir and things when I could, but I really missed my church responsibilities. And so when I retired from teaching band, I started doing some supply work with different churches with playing the organ, and I really had a wonderful opportunity. I've played in just about every church around in the county during this time, and I even played at St. Francis for, I think it was for a month while the previous music director, took a vacation, and so I wasn't, being raised Baptist, I wasn't sure. I was a little intimidated with the Episcopal worship service because it's more involved and much more music. But when I walked through the front door, the very first time at St. Francis, I just felt the love, and I was immediately put at ease. And then when I experienced the worship services, all the readings and the liturgies and the litanies just have become more and more important to me, and so I feel like I have grown in my faith, and more importantly, Mary, I know that I'm serving our Lord, and so I wouldn't trade anything for this experience.
You are doing such an incredible job. I think the first time I locked into the virtual services that we're doing, and I heard your opening piano playing, and I thought, this is not your mama's church service. this is not to say anything about anything in the past. I've always thought the music from St. Francis has been wonderful. So Linda did a great job, and the choir
Yes.
always does a great job. But you're literally there with maybe 5 or 6 people, maybe 5 or 6 people to sing. And you, even just when you're playing on your own, it just puts you in such a space, mentally and emotionally and spiritually. It doesn't even, to me, to be honest with you, it doesn't sound like your hymnal music. It sounds, I don't know what to say. It just sounds like it's coming from a whole different place. And we know that in St. Francis, sometimes the acoustics are not wonderful to play with there, but because we have big, wide open spaces, and we're sort of, encased in this beautiful surrounding. But it's wow, how your music sort of bounces around there and comes out to us. It's just beautiful. So thank you.
I have found it to be a challenge to produce an Episcopal worship service with only 10 people. The CDC and the governor says we can't have more than 10 people. And so that's why we're doubling up and have multiple responsibilities.
Different roles. Well, that explains that.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And it's certainly not what I signed up for. And I long for the day that we can have our choir, our entire choir family back. And
right.
We miss one another and want to sing together so badly. But unfortunately, when you're singing, we have air droplets. And it's just not safe. And when you're singing using pressurized air, and we may be singing while somebody else is breathing in, and musicians have to breathe deeper, and it's just not safe to sing. So we're trying to be inventive to come up with some additional litanies and things that we can do to make people feel part of worship, even though that we cannot sing for a while.
Well, it's funny, if it's a hymn that I know, or some of the little chants and songs that we sing in between, and I catch myself singing right in, whether I realize it or not. Like 10 seconds into it, I'm going, oh my God, I'm singing with nobody around here. It's just what you do, when you're in the service.
That is wonderful. And
I did catch myself getting right
better
on.
Way
of course, you sing,
we,
say the Nicene, creed and all that kind of stuff. You just fall right in. But you bring also some new talents that we would probably not, and probably most churches don't get access to the services. And I know this last time you had Ms. Voss there, and she played the flute. And we've got some very talented people. Charlie McCurdy that plays the guitar, and some other folks that come around. But this church, as long as I've been a member, which has been about 10 years now, has always embraced that artistic sense of how to worship and how to express ourselves, and we talked, Reverend Everett and I talked about the gallery downstairs. but it really extends to the music program. So tell me your philosophy
Yeah.
around bringing these talented people to the forefront.
Yeah, well, worship music is such an important part of any worship service. The music really prepares one's heart to worship, and so that's a awesome responsibility that we all take very seriously, to be able to lead in worship. I found with my connection with the school system, since I'm in all the band rooms and in all the choral, I work with the choral directors and the art teachers, that I really have a lot of contacts, and we use a lot of high school students to
Good.
come and play or sing with us. And I think teaching them, not only it's a win-win. Not only are we, do we love hearing them perform, but it's a growing opportunity for them also to help lead in worship. And so we really have used students from all three of the high schools, as a couple of the middle schools, and we use them a lot at Christmas and during the Lenten Easter season as well.
That's fantastic. And it is an extraordinary opportunity for them. I hope that they realize that. I think anytime you can bring the young people in to do, to have these opportunities and experiences that they would not otherwise have,
That's right.
it's just, it opens their view. And I think it's our responsibility as adults to do that. And, I mentor too. And so I get that. So I really do.
I agree. Yeah.
One of the things that you brought up is to prepare, music really prepares you. I'm not sure people realize that, and I didn't for a long time, that as a lector, because, I do that every now and again, that after the readings, that they wanted to have time for you to let that sink in and to reflect on it. So there's usually some sort of, musical interlude there that goes on. And it allows you to have that time to reflect on what you've just heard.
And sometimes we just sit in silence. And music is a combination of sound and silence. And sometimes, I don't know why, we feel uncomfortable in church sometimes, just being silent.
Being still. Yeah,
being still.
Being still. I think that's something that Reverend Everett believes strongly in, is stilling yourself. And I think we talked about the labyrinth as being one of those tools for people to use for that very purpose. Is to kind of still yourself, give your mind a little trail to walk around, and then let the rest of you go so that you can be still. But that's neat. So you've been here how long? You've been in this role how long now?
Almost 2 years at St. Francis. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. So, and
I'm kind of figuring it out now, all the liturgical seasons, and I'm getting a little more comfortable.
Well, I think you're doing a heck of a job. I mean, that's wonderful.
I appreciate it.
And I know, do you have your little baby still there? Is Cooper still there?
He's in my lap.
He's in your lap. Hey, sweetie. You can't know you and not know that this is part of your life. And what a sweet little baby you have. I love it.
Well, when I retired, I've always been so busy in my life, and so when I retired, I went into depression a little bit, and so I went to the doctor, and the doctor says, "I want you to do two things for me. I want you to go back to work part-time, find something to do that is meaningful in your life. And I want you to get a dog." And so I did.
Prescribed to have a pet. I love it.
That's right. So
I think they are so amazing and so unconditional with their love and their support of you.
Right.
We're getting ready, I think, to inherit a rescue kitty. And we lost our two kitties last year within about 7 or 8 months apart. And we'd had them for a long time, and they were members of the family. The latter one just was so special to me. I mean, they both were, but that one was like my baby, And so I really wasn't looking for another one, but somebody had passed away and the cat has gone from one person to another. And I think it needs a forever home. So
Right.
I think maybe we're in for that. But
Well,
this has been, yeah, this
Cooper
is, hey,
has been
Cooper, you have a good
blessed.
daddy.
He has been blessed by Father Everett, and I have his blessing of the animals certificate on my refrigerator.
Well, that's what St. Francis is all about, isn't it?
That's right.
There you
That's
go.
right. It's what St.
Yeah.
Francis loved.
Yeah, this is perfect. Well, any message to those parting words of the people that might be seeing this that have never been to St. Francis by the Sea and are only viewing the services? What message might you have?
Yeah, and I have spoken with several people who have never attended worship service in person. They have only seen it since we have started online services, and they say that when the doors open,
You'll be here. Yeah.
they're going to come in person. And so I know these are dark times and frightening times with the COVID virus, and I just want everybody to stay safe, and when we do open the doors and we're able to have worship services again, what a joyful day that will be. And I look forward to that time. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to have meaningful virtual
That's good.
worship services, and we're doing it to the best of our abilities.
This is awesome. You know, as I'm doing this, I realize there might be some people out there that that watch the services regularly. They want to be counted among this community. So I'm going to welcome them right now by saying you are already among us, as if you're watching the services. And if you'd like to be known too, why don't you reach out via www.stfrancisbythesea.org and let us know if you'd like to have a little interview so that we can get to know you as well. So it's not just a one-way street. You've got to participate if we're going to be engaged, right? So,
That's right.
As a community. So Craig, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and love to
My pleasure.
And so parting words are, join us. All are welcome. We always say that and we mean it.
That's right.
All right. Thanks.
Really good. All right. Bye.